Hi, everyone. I'm Julie Marquis, and the lovely picture right here is of my mom when she was about 20 years old, the year of which I will not divulge because that breaks the Marquis Women Covenant that extends for hundreds of years. So, my mom found beauty in many things: nature, music of all kinds, with a special affinity for opera as she studied to be an opera singer. But especially, Mom loved words. And this poem that I'm about to do for the reading was one of her favorites and has been a part of my life since childhood. This was read to me practically as soon as I was born. During the last week of Mom's life, she was under the care of the director of palliative services at the hospital. And this woman was trying to convince Mom to stay in the hospital, and Mom said, no, I want to go home. And Mom went home because stubbornness runs on both sides of my family. This woman asked Mom what it was that she wanted for her care and how she hoped things might progress, and what, with everything Mom had gone through that last year especially, with her health declining and Dad taking care of her, she was at her health was not good. And so this woman asked Mom what it was she wanted, and Mom quoted the last 4 lines of this poem right off the bat without having to think about it. The poem is called Barter by Sarah Teasdale. Life has loveliness to sell, all beautiful and splendid things. Blue waves whitened on a cliff, soaring fire that sways and sings, and children's faces looking up, holding wonder like a cup. Life has loveliness to sell, music like a curve of gold, scent of pine trees in the rain, eyes that love you, arms that hold, and for your spirit's still delight, holy thoughts that star the night. Spend all you have for loveliness. Buy it and never count the cost. For one white singing hour of peace, count many a year of strife well lost. And for a breath of ecstasy, give all you have been or could be.
Thank you, Julie. You know, the theme today is health. We call it Adventures in Health. I would imagine most of you have had an adventure or two in health. Health reflects life, how we live it. Our health is often determined by what we do, how we do it, if we do it. And, you know, my whole life, I was pretty lucky. I really didn't have many health challenges. But boy, I did live it on the edge. And like I said, health reflects life. The other thing about health that's really interesting is that people think sometimes if you have a heart attack or cancer or stroke, it's that moment that it all happened. When in reality, it's been happening for a long time. Sometimes these things happen because of something happened as a child or early adulthood. And that stress, that anxiety, the thing that creates fight or flight, fear in your body that generates all these interesting hormones and chemicals to protect your body from 200,000 years ago when we were being chased by a lion. The same chemistry exists today. We hear a lot about chronic inflammation, and there's also chronic anxiety, chronic stress. And the problem is when you don't solve that, when you don't mitigate it, you don't make it better, it adds up. It's like a debris field. It just keeps piling up. And one day, it may do something to you. Health happens, and it happens at different times in our lives. It happens worse with some than others. It happens to young people, to old people, but usually as you get older, like the car with 200,000 miles on it, sometimes the tailpipe falls off, or the transmission chokes up, or the chain inside that motor gets stuck. We're really no different, except that what's interesting with us is that we have choices, and we can make some choices to make life better long term. For example, we can go to the dentist. Our oral health is so important. Think about it. Our teeth are right here in the same hotel as the brain. They live right next door to each other, so you would imagine this being some of the most bacteria-accommodating place in your digestive system, the top of your digestive system, right next to this amazing thing that's on top of our head, that we should probably take care of those teeth more, because otherwise those bacteria are going to break in at night, create all sorts of issues in your brain. But sometimes we don't think of it that way. You know, Gail later will talk about advocacy and thinking about what to do best, thinking about how to know what to do if you feel something going on in your body, because quite often we're busy raising children, we're busy taking care of our parents, we're busy with cats and dogs and houses and mortgage and jobs and layoffs and all these things, and we lose track of ourselves, and sometimes events occur. So I'm going to get personal and tell you about what happened to me. You know, it may be more information than you want, but too bad. I'm up here. I'm in charge. And so when I was a kid, I had a rough childhood. And the last few years, I've been involved in a case down on Long Island that has to do with child sexual abuse. I'm not going to get into the details, but yeah, you know, that did happen. And so my life began rough as a child. It was a rough childhood. And then it just continued into my teenagerhood. But you know, we all have stories. We all have our moments in our life where stuff happens. I think about all the kids in the wars around the world that are seeing their homes blown up and their parents dying and brothers passing, and the trauma that they must experience that will, by the way, resurrect down the road in their lives. And so sometimes, though, we bury it, which I did. And I buried it pretty well with a great career in science, and I drank a little bit too much of that Cabernet over the years. And so, but I plodded through. We had 3 great kids. We have 6 grandchildren. My wife and I just celebrated 50 years. She deserves to be like in the Vatican as a saint. Yeah, she does. I wasn't easy. But everything reflects your life when it comes to your health. I mean, unless you get hit by a car or something. I mean, everything does reflect your life. Wherever you think you are right now with health is how you've been doing with it, with your body. It's really funny how, you know, our bodies are our own. I mean, we have full control over it. We can decide things, we can do things with it, to it, and maybe most of us do. And we're lucky in that maybe most of us have the ability to do that. We have things like insurance. But when you look at what's happening in our country, around the world, many people will not have those choices to do good things with their bodies. And that's tough. You know what's strange, though? Whether it's love or hate, our cells inside our body don't care. They do their thing. And whether you're on some side of a political party or the other side, or whether you're gay or straight, white or black, cells will do what they're supposed to do. They react. I always say love is stronger than hate, and so our cells are going to do better. I do believe that. I truly believe that. But it's amazing, though, as time goes along, you go through a period where now, when you get older, you remember the trauma of maybe a childhood. Now, like I said, what happened to me is a tiny thimbleful of what happens to so many people around the world. And I think about all the 100 billion humans that have existed on this planet before us and what they endured. So, in a way, I'm lucky. I made it through relatively complete. But what's funny is, when I joined this church, I came with my good friend Julie, and we came here in February of 2023 to talk to Reverend Michelle about health, because we're in a health business. And so that was our mission, to come here and get in front of a congregation and pitch our products and all that stuff. Well, Michelle was really nice. She said, yeah, come to the service and we'll talk afterwards. We never talked about health, and we never stopped coming. So it's funny how you hear about health and surrounding yourself with people. It's funny how with the pandemic, people became used to being in a silo. We didn't get together anymore with people. We protected ourselves against viruses, which we were good to do. But we lost that thing. Between that and the internet and social media and the pandemic, we lost that thing, that ability to be with people and actually be there in front of them and feeling people. We lost that. And I did. I lost it for sure. For 30 years, I was the very first remote worker because I had my own little consulting gig, and I worked out of my house, and I had fancy equipment like a fax machine back in the 80s. And so I was remote for a long time. I kind of worked on my own a lot. And then I kind of got used to the next flow, which was the internet and social media and not really being involved with people. But I'll tell you, when I first came here, I had no idea, and any of you that have heard me talk have heard this, I had no idea that I needed this. Many of you have been coming to congregation like this particular one, others, for years and years and years, and I commend you. That's health. That's health. When you are with people, and you don't have to agree with everything someone says, but when you're with people who have a common cause, man, that's powerful. And that helps because you suddenly aren't alone. You're not hearing just the echoes in your head. You're not just talking to yourself in the morning. You actually meet people and you make friends and you get together. Whatever their stripes are, whatever sexual orientation, whoever they love, whatever it is, you get to be with people to think about something that's common. You know, health reflects lifestyle. That's lifestyle. Getting together every Sunday, boy, what an interesting thought. It's been happening for thousands of years, different religions all over the world, because that was Facebook. That was social media. This is really the social media. It's incredible. So, you know, I'm approaching my 70th birthday. Let's see. 71st birthday? You know, it's funny, I met my wife when I was 15 and she was 26. But anyway, so in 2023, December, I was helping somebody in a blizzard, pushing a car, and I fell. I slipped. And I really messed up my shoulder, my rotator cuff, pulled 2 tendons, and for the next 6 months, I was in a lot of pain. It was just awful. If anybody's ever had a shoulder injury, you know what I'm talking about. But I kind of worked myself out of it. I found out it wasn't broken, which was good. But there's a reason why I'm telling you this. So that was in December of 2023. In September of 2024, I took a nap. That is not a real picture. It's a dramatization. Can we call security, please? That's right. So on September 9th, so I had been going through this awful situation in my life, my doing, where financially we were really strapped. I was going through this sexual abuse lawsuit that I was involved with, and it was really intense. I was really pressed. I was really pressed, but I had this to fall back on. I mean, this was a big part of really helping me. It's kind of like my happy place. In a way, it was a little bit of medicine. Because what happened on September 9th, when I was taking that nap with my friends, that's a dramatization of my friends Devin and my friends Tango and Whiskey and Foxtrot and 8 cats and dogs that live with us, and that's her fault. So my good friend Julie knew that I was depressed over the weekend. I was pretty down about things. And so she decided to take a ride over to my house to deposit some Tim Hortons, coffee and donuts and things like that. But I was passed out. I was morbidly passed out. I mean, I was so tired at 9 in the morning. I was drinking a lot of wine as well back then. And that was the only way I could take the edge off that I could figure out. It's funny what you knew. This thing also says, I wish I knew what I know then, or I know what I knew then, or whatever that saying is. I knew that drinking wasn't a good idea. But to be honest with you, I didn't know what else to do. So that morning I was really tired, and I pretty much just went on the couch. All my friends went with me, and I was deep in sleep when my dog barked in my face. And it was because Julie was in the driveway, just knocking at the door, I guess, because I didn't hear anything. And so I got up and looked out the window, and there she was. She was walking back to her car. Little did I know that her car died in my driveway as she pulled in. So I went downstairs and opened the door. And the reason why that's important is because had she left, had my dog not barked in my face, I wouldn't have known something. So here's what occurred. Very quickly, I'll tell you this story, and it's pretty cool, I think. So I go downstairs, find out her car died. I go to my office to call AAA. And then I go to type in my keyboard, and my arm is like that. I'm like, this isn't good. So remember, left arm is really hurting still from the shoulder thing, and I'm not really typing well. And I am left-handed, but I had taught myself to use the mouse on the right. So I'm like going like this and trying to type, and finally got a way to call AAA. I went outside and I said to Julie, hey, I think I'm having a stroke. Because you know what the signs are. And it wasn't good. Because at first you think, well, if I had stayed asleep, I would have slept through it, and I wouldn't have known. So why is that all important? I didn't want to tell anybody about this for months because I felt it showed weakness. It was embarrassing. It was hard. It was too personal. But I really knew that at some point I wanted to tell my story because what happened to me could happen to just about anybody. You could be really good at what you eat, controlling all the vices, doing the things you're supposed to do with your body, and still have an issue. But if you listen to your body, you'll know. If you listen to your body and you know your body well, you'll know. About a week before this stroke, I said to my wife, I'm just so worried something's going to happen. I'm going to have a stroke or something like that. I mean, I actually said those words. And we both remember that. So I'm in the driveway saying to Julie, I think I had a stroke. My arm is like this. And she's like saying, yeah, right, I have to get my car right. But I said, no, I have to go. Now, I had the car in the driveway. And I said, I have to go because time is an issue with strokes. Time. There's this clot-busting drug that is so important to use when there's a stroke. It's called TPH. Been around for 35 years. It's an amazing drug. And I know they're using a drug similar to that these days. So time is really, really important. And I knew that. So I said, screw it. I can't wait for your car to be fine. I'm going to, and the AAA guy came and was working on her car. Said, I have to go. I'm going to drive.
The key in that sentence is, I'm going to drive myself.
So, heckler, speak up if you're going to heckle for the people that are, you know.
Very dumb.
Okay.
Here in this scenario too, so you're outnumbered.
All right. So I did drive. And I went in the car, and I remember my left arm blows, my right arm is this, and I get in the car, and we live in Orchard Park, and there's Mercy Hospital, and there's this satellite little hospitals, you know? And so it was about 15 minutes away, 10 minutes away. So I did, and I steering with my knee, but here's the problem, I had to call Gail, because she didn't know yet that I had a stroke, or I thought I had a stroke. And I'm saying, okay, so I take the phone and I'm putting it in here, and I'm trying to hit her number. I finally did it. And Gail answers the phone. Now, almost every day she babysits our grandkids. So I said, hi, Gail, how you doing? She goes, oh, I'm doing fine. The kids are doing this. They're driving me crazy. I said, oh, that's good. But listen, just don't get excited. But I'm on my way to the hospital. I think I had a stroke, but don't get excited. And she got excited. I get to the hospital. Now, this part I'm a little fuzzy on. So that was dumb, by the way. That was really dumb to drive. But I felt time was of the essence, and I did anyway. So right or wrong, that happened. Oh, boy.
Pardon me. If I have to interject here. Before he drove himself, I was in the driveway of their house saying, Charlie, if you're having a stroke, there is no way in, insert your favorite place here, I am going to let you drive. And not only am I worried about time being of the essence, but I was worried about Gail saying, Julie, what were you doing? Why weren't you able to stop him from doing this? So there were these two things going on. It's like, Charlie, you can't, and my car was directly behind his car. It's like, Charlie, no, so time is of the essence. He's insisting on it. My car finally got fixed. So it's like, okay, I am driving behind you. If anything happens and you can flash the lights, pull over so I will know. But just so, I was driving behind him, keeping an eye, because I wanted to make sure he was okay and that it might help Gail in the long run. So, but that's the part he was fuzzy on, because a lot was going on.
She's afraid of this woman over here, and I understand that.
So, not afraid. I want to stay high in her estimation. There's a difference.
Just to kind of quickly wrap up this story, I apologize it's taking this long. So I had this stroke. It was really a lifesaver for me, not because it was ready to kill me, because it was a relatively minor stroke, although I don't think there's any such thing. But it taught me a lot of things. And I should listen more to what my body is telling me. Remember I tell you, lifestyle reflects health. Health reflects lifestyle. I have since then reduced my Cabernet consumption considerably. I'm doing pretty well. But it's kind of funny how when you, is this working? Let's see. Oh, I missed the, did I? Oh, there, no. Oh, is it? Okay, that's all right, no worries, that's okay. I was gonna get real personal and show you an image of my MRI. What did I learn out of this whole thing? Take care of yourselves. Be real with yourselves. Don't be an idiot like me, really.
911, did you learn that?
Yeah, I did. And my feeling at the time, and again, I was wrong, was I gotta get out of here, I gotta get over there. And so when you're scared, sometimes you do stupid things, you know. So anyway, again, the story here is not to defend what I did, it's to inform you what happened and to give you an idea that there are better ways to do things, not only what happened during the stroke, but before it happened. Much better ways to do it. Watch your diet, take supplements, folks, especially if you're over 50. Good supplements and good food, and be nice to your bodies. I think that's the most important thing of all. So I appreciate your time, and thanks for listening to this story. Thank you.
Hello again. My part is on caregiving. I took care of my dad for the last 3 years of his life, and I helped out with my mom before that. Dad was her caregiver. And this picture is of me and my dad. We were living in Thailand then, and we were flying kites. And that was the last time I could get away with a two-piece yellow jumpsuit, so. And this is my dad. This was taken in 1978 on a boating trip when we were living in Pakistan. And I like to call this his "it's good to be the king" pose. My dad was a B-17 tail gunner with the 8th Air Force during World War II. He was the city editor of the Spokesman Review newspaper in Spokane, Washington, and a diplomat with the sadly now defunct U.S. Information Service for 30 years. And he lived to be 93 3/4 years old. Now, that 3/4 is very important, and Dad would want me to include that because, trust me, the man earned every single day. And those last 2 3/4 being especially difficult. When he reached 91, his health really started to take a downturn. One event after the other, but Dad would work his way through each one because that's who my dad was. But even though he kept bouncing back, it was never back to the place where he had started before the illness or event. But he would always tell people that he was a tough old bird, and he was. I had moved into the townhouse with Dad after a few months after my mom died. It meant a longer commute for me, but it was the best solution for both of us at the time. A year and a half later, when I left my job at the Kennedy Center, before I did, Dad had had a bad bout with pneumonia and had fallen a couple of times. My concern for him, along with my daily 3.5-hour commute to and from work, it was time to leave. So the plan was that I would take a few months off, be there to keep an eye on Dad, decompress from the soul-sucking 3.5-hour daily commute to work, and get a part-time job, likely at my happy place of Wegmans. But as we all know, life is what happens when you're busy making other plans. What actually happened started 2.5 weeks after I left work. And it was the big one that just started the whole caregiving process. Dad had gone in for an endoscopy, which he had had numerous times before with no problems whatsoever. This time, however, he developed a fever, and the different meds that had been prescribed by the gastroenterologist over the course of the week after did nothing to help. He wasn't eating, he was getting a fever, it was not good. So the first of many late night ER visits occurred, and they found the culprit, which was a liver abscess. Because of how weak he had become during the endoscopy, he was admitted to the hospital, and then after that, to a rehab facility where he stayed for about 3 weeks to regain some strength. His doctor there pulled me aside one day and basically said to prepare for Dad not making it through the process. She said it was difficult enough for someone half his age to go through the treatment, let alone a 91-year-old man. The treatment was antibiotics administered through a PICC line 4 times a day. A treatment that would need to be continued at home 4 times a day for the next 2 months, given by yours truly, whose background was in customer service and the arts. Good combination. I'd already learned the PICC line, but now it was time to learn about SASH, S-A-S-H, an acronym forever etched in my brain: saline, administration, saline, heparin, in case you want it stuck in your brain too. You're welcome. And Dad, with his very dry sense of humor, joked that if I wanted to get rid of him, you know, a nice air bubble in a syringe would do the job. He said, "Now's your chance, kid, 4 times a day." If you knew my Dad's sense of humor was very warped and very dry. Dad, of course, came through it, but not without it taking the first of many big tolls on his system. And it was the start of learning the ins and outs of being a caregiver for me, because this was all new. And with Dad and with me after each event, we'd keep hoping that things would go back to normal. But you find as you go along that normal keeps changing, and you learn to keep time with the continuing new normals. And some surprise you and some stay steady, but for the most part, they might surprise you. And it was a learning process for both of us. There were late nights. There was me sleeping with one eye open and one ear open just in case he needed something in the middle of the night. And you adjust to the new patterns that your life brings. Dad endured more rounds of doctor and specialist appointments and all these things that came up, and there were a lot of them. There was a lot of stress to keep for him, and there was a lot of stress for me to keep him as healthy as possible. And it was a day-to-day, sometimes minute-by-minute thing. There's no right way. It's a matter of finding what works for you and the person you're taking care of. And it changes all the time. The journey of taking care of my dad that last 2 3/4 years was unexpected, as most caregiving experiences start out to be. According to a 2025 report from Caregiving in the US, there are now 53 million unpaid family caregivers in this country, up from 45 million in 2015, and that number will only continue to rise. Now, Dad went through so much, and he really was a tough old bird trooper. He really was. Through the whole thing, everything that happened, he retained his sense of humor, he kept going, and that's, I keep trying to aspire to that. I'm not quite there yet, but I have that as my guidepost. And I was lucky with Dad especially because even though his body was not cooperating, his mind still stayed sharp. It was sharper than mine on most days, which really irritated me. But Dad got a huge kick out of that. So what did I learn that I didn't know before all of the caregiving started? First and foremost, take care of yourself, especially if you're the only one doing the caregiving. Take care of yourself. I worked so hard not to get sick, because if I went down, you have to maneuver new things. We are capable of so much more than we give ourselves credit for. If you are in a caregiver situation, trust yourself. It seems overwhelming at first, but you will find what works for you. Always expect the unexpected. It will happen. Ask for help. This was something I did not do that I wish I had done. Ask for help. It's out there. You don't have to be on your own. Find some outlet or group if you can. Again, this was something I did not do. I had Charlie too, because he and Gail had taken care of Gail's mom. So it's like, what do I do? What do I do? And breathe. Some days it is just that simple. Just breathe. And remember that as hard as it is on you, it's harder on the person you're taking care of. And I lost sight of that a few times, and I don't like to admit that, but you know, it happens. And realize you won't get back the same life you had before. That once the person you're caring for is gone, you have to find a new purpose. Your purpose has been taking care of someone, and now it's gone. And that can take a while to find. Enjoy and cherish the stories and songs you hear and the conversations you've had with the person. Trust me, you will miss them when they're gone. Write them down if you can. I especially miss the stories that start out with, I know I've told you this 1,000 times before, but, and Dad would come out with random snippets of songs that I miss hearing. For some reason, he knew the 2 opening lines of the Georgia Tech fight song. He didn't go to Georgia Tech, he'd never been to Georgia, but somehow he knew, we're the rambling wreck of Georgia Tech. And the other one was, when it's apple blossom time in Orange, New Jersey, we'll be a peach of a pear. And the last one, and these are my parents, one of the few pictures I could get of my mother. And I knew this to a certain extent beforehand because I'd helped Dad with Mom. But through the journey with both my parents and the late night ER visits, hospital stays, prepping for procedures, home visits, is the full and total realization of what absolute rock stars nurses are, and they should be recognized as such. And to that end, I'm going to introduce one such rock star, one of my favorite people, an operating room nurse for 46 years, and an endovascular RN specialist, Gail Destries.
Well, if you've ever seen anyone who looks like me, then you know what I did for 46 years. I was in operating room for 46 years. I got up in the morning, I took off my pajamas, I put regular clothes on, and went to work and put on my pajamas. And today, I got up, put on my scrubs, and came to church. What a difference. I truly enjoyed what I did. It was a wonderful experience. And what I want to tell you is that 4 years are better than 2. So if you go through a difficult time, if you've ever been to a doctor where you've heard cholecystectomy, osteotomy, total abdominal hysterectomy, an inguinal hernia, we're going to do a laminectomy, and walked out of the doctor's office and you have no idea what they just said, bring someone with you. Have an advocate. When you go into the doctor's office, just say, this is my friend, whoever. I give permission for you to tell them, because a lot of times it goes in one ear and out the other, and you have no idea what's happening. So for me, 2 things, and I'm going to make it quick. If you go to the operating room, I am there for you. I'm a circulating nurse. I am your advocate in the OR. I make sure that you are comfortable, that you're warm, that all the parts are covered that nobody needs to see if we're not working there, and that I will call your family to let you know, hopefully if the hospital lets me, how you're doing. Because it's the people that are in the waiting room who are really having the hard time. You're just sleeping. So I'm going to close it nice and sweet. Get an advocate to come with you. Have somebody who knows what's going on. And if you ever go to the OR, wear clean socks and make them funny. There's nothing like a chicken sock to get the OR going in the morning. So I wish you all kinds of health, and if you need an advocate, I'll come with you, okay?